Hello and welcome to the Crown Recaps channel. Today I'm going to describe When I Get Home, My Wife Always Pretends to Be Dead, a Japanese comic drama film. There will be spoilers ahead. Keep an eye out and be cautious. Jun Kagami and his wife Chie Kagami live in Tokyo and work as office workers. Jun feels that a pair is made for each other if they can stay married for more than 3 years without any difficulty. His first marriage ended after 3 years, therefore, he and Chie agreed to renew their marriage contract after their 3rd anniversary before marrying. They will simply walk out of each other's lives if they feel they can no longer be together. Jun is concerned about how their future will play out as the couple approaches their 3rd wedding anniversary. He returns home from work while thinking about such things. No one answers when he rings the doorbell. Chie always greets him at the entrance, which is rather rare. Jun enters with the spare key and is greeted by a terrifying scene. Blood is streaming from Chie's mouth as she lies limp on the floor. He falls beside her and tries unsuccessfully to rouse her awake. Jun recalls all of the happy experiences he's had with his wife during his stress. She had requested him to die before her on their wedding day so she wouldn't have to live without him. Jun regains his composure and comes back to his senses after a few seconds. When he tries to call an ambulance, Chie clutches his legs, showing that it was all a joke. She asks Jun whether he's surprised as he looks at her in disbelief, and he laughs. When he doesn't respond, she just invites him to dinner in the kitchen. Jun jokes about Chie using ketchup as fake blood once he has recovered from his fright. Chie mocks Jun's reaction to the trick, and the couple laughs. The rest of the dinner is spent in a cheerful and light-hearted manner. Chie requests for a kiss before Jun departs for work the next morning. He tells her they are no longer newlyweds, which makes her cringe. Chie, on the other hand, does not agree with him. She gives him a firm hug, saying that they never know what would happen during the day, so this could be their final goodbye. Jun tosses the Grange bag into the bins on his way out. When a cleaning lady goes through them, she notices the bloody garments from the day before. She begins to suspect Jun is up to no good in his flat. Jun informs his co-worker Sano about the prank Chie played on him the day before. Sano praises Chie for trying to be funny, but wishes his wife was less serious. Later that evening, Chie is preparing supper when she receives a text from Jun informing her that he is on his way home. She looks at the text with a malicious grin, planning her next trick. Jun walks in a few minutes later to find his wife lying on the floor, her head encased in a lifelike alligator's mouth. She's acting as though she's about to be devoured by the beast. Jun plays along and saves her by pulling her out of its mouth. She expresses her gratitude to her husband and suggests that they eat dinner right away. I then continue to play dead every day after that, becoming more inventive with each trick. She claims to be a maid who died as a result of being involved in a quarrel one day. She then becomes a trapped soldier who is shot by the adversaries. But it's when she pretends to be shot in the head by an arrow that Jun is most impressed. He praises the inventiveness, albeit he is becoming increasingly annoyed by the pranks as time goes on. Jun is baffled as to why she is doing these, and as the 3rd anniversary approaches, he is even more concerned. He's dumping the rubbish again one day, and it's basically props that Chie uses to pretend to be dead. The cleaning lady searches the bag and discovers a bloody knife. She creates a commotion in front of everyone and only calms down after Jun explains that the blood is actually ketchup. He communicates his dissatisfaction to his co-worker Sano, who proposes that he send Chie to her parents for a few days. As they converse, Jun proceeds to tell him about his first meeting with Chie and how he came to know her. He was in Shizuoka for a business meeting, but he failed to catch his return bus. Chie noticed him following it and asked him to her father's restaurant. She was a lovely young lady, but it was her upbeat nature that drew Jun's attention. Her mother died when she was just 5 years old, yet she never showed her grief in public. She told him before she left that she wanted to have a dessert from Mont St. Clair in Tokyo, and he offered her to visit the city later. Sano is taken aback by the unusual love story. Jun returns home that day to find Chie has transformed herself into a medieval soldier who died in the conflict. Because Jun had commended her the prior time, she had used multiple arrows. He goes along with it and seems to be saddened by her death. When he sees the price tag on the costume she's wearing, he doesn't have to pretend any longer. He tells Sano the next day that he is going to join in with the pranks to see if she will stop. As a result, when he arrives home and discovers that she has been kidnapped by fake aliens, he puts on the biggest show of his life and confronts them. Chie, on the other hand, does not let this deter her. Instead, she creates an elaborate act for him and challenges him to perform better. She once pretended to be a dead vampire who needed to be resurrected by drawing the knife from her chest. Jun follows the instructions in the skit and is bitten by her in the process. She then claims to be Juliet, who is in need of Romeo's assistance in order to be resurrected from the grave. Jun behaves as if he is mourning and brings her back to life, like he did the last time. He can't concentrate at work and is nearly afraid to go home. Sano totally agrees with his co-worker's plight. He invites the couple to dinner with his wife to get him to stop the pranks for a day. In the end of the day, they all get together at a restaurant. Yumeko, Sano's wife, also joins them. Chie is asked why she chose to marry Jun during their conversation. A flashback reveals that the two met in Tokyo after meeting at the restaurant. Jun takes Chie to a cafe where she has always longed to go. Chie chases down a street seller selling her favorite wafer cake while wandering through Tokyo's streets. Jun closes in on her and makes it to the merchant. They divide his remaining cake because he only has one. Chie offers him the larger piece, but Jun requests the larger piece. This was the point at which she understood she was in love with him. Back in the present, Jan rekindles his love for his wife as he returns home. They gaze at the moon together, admiring its beauty. Jun sees an advertisement for a job opening at a local laundry on his way home one day. He thinks Chie will have less time for pranks as she starts working, so he brings the paper home. She greets him in a coffin dressed as an Egyptian princess. They just walk to the kitchen for dinner after the extraordinary incident. Jun informs her of the opening and encourages her to apply. Chie is initially skeptical, but she accepts to participate nonetheless. She starts working at an elderly man's laundry shop the next day. It doesn't stop her from pulling off the pranks, though. That evening, she claims to be killed by a bank robber. Jun has had enough of seeing her pretend dead and tells her that he is sick of it. Chie goes on a date with Sano's wife Yumeko the next day and learns that she has been trying to conceive for 6 years without luck. The couple's relationship is strained as a result of this, but Yumeko is comforted by Chie's nice words. Jun gives his wife flowers and her favorite cake, but when he walks into the apartment, he notices her acting as if she is a ghost rising from her tomb. She pretended to be a ghost who was already dead when he urged her not to act dead. She congratulates him on the cake and prepares a delicious dinner for him. She dresses up like a robot for the weekend, but Jun forces her to remove the mask. Following that, he discovers a note from his ex-wife in which she requests that he meet her someday. Sano and his wife are invited to supper one day by the couple. Yumeko discovers and is attracted by the alligator toy in the room. She turns out to be a huge fan of alligators, something even her husband is surprised by. Everything is okay until Sano says that men require time away from their wives. Yumeko is irritated by this, and she gets into a fight with Sano. To cheer her up, Chie gives her the alligator as she wins an arm wrestling match with her. Yumeko is the winner since she used to do karate. She gladly takes the alligator home with her. Sano feels awful since, although being married for 6 years, he had no idea what his wife's interests were. Jun returns home the next day to find Chie has transformed herself into a human from the year 2050. He plays along for the first few minutes, asking her questions about the future, but then he asks what he needs to do to get her to stop playing pranks on him. Chie falls silent and begins to compute the average number of people in the room. In the future, they will spend days together. She refuses to answer his inquiry, even when he continues. Yumeko informs Chie a few days later that she and Sano have chosen to divorce. She expresses gratitude to Chie because it made her feel special. The pair was able to express their feelings to each other because of her. Jun and Sano, on the other hand, head to a restaurant to discuss the situation. Yumeko, according to Sano, deserves a more attentive partner. Hence, the divorce is a wise decision for both of them. Jun also relates that his ex-wife once went missing for 2 weeks before reappearing and requesting a divorce. He is quite drunk by the end of the night, so Chie carries him up. The next day, they learn that Chie's father has suffered a heart attack and is in the hospital. They rush to her hometown and meet her father, who has been miraculously saved. Chie meets him, but she can't stop crying afterward. Her father informs Jun that she hasn't sobbed since her mother died when she isn't in the room. He also says that Chie observed him crying while looking at her mother's picture one night after she died. When he returned from work the next day, she began to hide around the home. Her father initially felt it was bothersome and strange, but as time passed, The simple activity of her concealing helped him to forget about his wife's death because it kept him engaged. Jun understands that since she began to act dead, he has become more committed in their relationship. He notices that her antics aren't motivated by her dissatisfaction, but rather by her desire to feel closer to him and keep him entertained. They went to the park where Jun proposed to her later. They spend the rest of the day conversing with one another on various topics. After a few days, the couple returns to Tokyo. Chie returns home from work to find Jun unconscious on the floor, blood dripping from his mouth. She panics and tries to wake him up, only to discover that he is also playing a joke on her. Jun recommends they eat supper at the end of the film, but Chie is too angry with him for scaring her like that. This is Crown Recaps signing off. Subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this, switch on notifications, and leave a like to support the channel. Thank you for taking the time to watch.